Hello, Veeam community. We are back with another high energy episode you don't want to miss. This is Veeam 100 show for you, episode 17, and we've got another super interesting topic that we will discuss today. And I am joined by Chris, one of our Veeam 100 members, as well as Karine, one of our technologists from Product Strategy. And she specializes in Microsoft 365, but she's going to tell us a little bit more later. Karine's a familiar face on the show, so many of you probably know her already. And just before the show, I figured out that actually Chris participated last year in the Vim 100 show, as initially I thought it was his first time. So, welcome back, both of you.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, yeah. And I am based in Bucharest, Romania. Chris is joining us from Canada, and Karine is in the USA in Columbus office. But let us know where in the world, where in the world are you watching us from? Just drop it in the chat, and we'll say hi in there to you. But as I said, Chris, Karine, it's great to have you both back in the show. But I know you've both been in the show before, but for the ones that are watching us maybe for the first time or they've never watched an episode where you were part of it, why don't you just give us a short introduction? Chris, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. My name's Chris Childerhose. I'm an enterprise architect at ThinkOn, a managed service provider. I'm also a Veeam Vanguard, Veeam Legend, Bug Leader, and part of the wonderful community that is Veeam.
Interesting.
Hi, I'm Corinne Bissett. Like Madalena said, I'm no stranger to this show or many of the streams that we have here at Veeam and the adjacent communities. I'd be remiss if I wasn't to mention I'm in an office takeover of the Ricatron Museum. And in the Columbus location, I'm super excited to get started here and get into automation. It's really a hot topic coming around.
I agree on that, Karine. So yeah, thank you both for introducing yourselves. Great stuff in there. And being a community show, as I always like to start it, I want to ask Chris, our guest, what's his role within the community. He kind of mentioned that he's a legend, a vanguard, and the VUG leader in Canada. So that one, he covered it. But tell us what inspires you to be part of this community and, want to have all the roles in community. I'm very
Um,
curious to hear on that.
I got into Veeam many years ago and started to work with it and everything. And then once the community came up, I joined it. For me, it's just contributing, giving back to the community, sharing information, helping people solve issues, solve problems, joining the Veeam 100 summits and talking with people and just community. That's all I can say is community.
Absolutely. You are one of the biggest contributors at the community hub. So thank you for that. And you definitely support us in there and in different projects like the Vim 100 show, where we are talking technical stuff and passion projects. So that's fantastic. And thank you both for that. And yeah, I think we should probably go and dive right into the topic. You already kind of mentioned Karine a little bit. You kind of gave us a sneak peek on what we're going to talk about today. But yeah, we are going to explore a real case scenario in here, a project that I believe, Chris, you are still working on it. Am I right?
Yes, I am.
Definitely, yeah. So he will walk us through on how to automate the setup of Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365 using Terraform, and that will reduce the deployment time from weeks to just days. So I'm very curious, same as Karine, to hear everything about it. But one more thing before we get into the super technical stuff, just wanted to let our audience that, if you are watching us today and if you have any questions related to this topic, to the discussion, please don't hesitate. Just jump in and ask all your questions, during the presentation in the chat, and, we'll make sure to answer all. So, Corinne, Chris, ready to roll?
Yep,
Absolutely.
Okay,
always.
take it over, Corinne, from here.
Thank you, Madalena. So, we're going to be talking about automation, and not just automation, but automation when it comes to utilizing Terraform and deploying the Microsoft 365 backup product here at Veeam. Chris, I know that you and I have been in this product for a long time. Can you give me just like an estimation of how much time this takes to deploy if you're not using some type of automation system in the environment? Just
Yeah,
to give
sure.
context.
Absolutely. This particular project is a very big one. It's going to be like over 150,000 users. It's government here in Canada. And had I done this manually, it would have taken me 3-4 weeks, I'm going to estimate, only because I had to deploy 60 to 65 proxy servers alone in this environment. So you can see if you don't automate, you're going to be manually typing on the keyboard and taking a lot of time.
Absolutely. Really, automation is money in the enterprise. And even if you spent 4 weeks working on building this project, you still saved yourself months and months of work on bringing your oncoming users and clients into the ecosystem. So let's start to cover, we know why. We do automation because it is so necessary to scale and move projects. But let's kind of get into the pet project as a whole. What were the considerations and factors that you really had to take into account before even taking on this project?
Well, we do a lot of stuff Veeam. This project came up. It was for the government, so it's like top secret clearance and all these things, which I have. And I was trying to figure out a way. Okay, we do this in production. I need to do this somehow in this environment, but make it faster. And then I can take that and put it back into our production environment. Because when we build our Veeam systems and stuff like that, they're all the same. So once you know how to automate and do this in one environment, you can translate that and move it over and do it in another environment.
So if you had to say give a checklist, like let's talk about the
Yep,
beforehand, because I know that you gave
sure.
me the script and I was not able to get it to work in my environment right off the cuff.
Yeah.
What kind of groundwork do you need to have in place or to lay out before you consider going to these specific projects for applications like you did?
You have to have the infrastructure for it. I was lucky enough that we have somebody here that started all of this work. So they started GitLab, which is like a document code repository. So we have all of our configuration files sitting there. And then we also have Ansible, which does coding and configuring and all those things. And they also had Terraform going. So I was kind of curious. I was watching them do this, and I thought, I can use this for Veeam, because Veeam is, once you start deploying, it's the same each time typically. It could be a bigger scale, it could be a smaller scale, but it would allow me to do this much faster.
Awesome. So was this your first experience with using Terraform, or was this a series of projects that you've kind of done over time to build up to the deployment of the Microsoft 365 backup product?
Well, if anybody remembers Anthony Spiteri's Project Oxoteru from many, many years ago, that was the first time I got into Terraform, because the way he did that project, it allowed you to deploy proxy servers to VBR really fast, scale them up, scale them down, and all those kinds of things. So I kind of used that knowledge that I had from back then to then translate over to here. And we built a couple of VB365 environments initially. So I used this, got it working, and then I just took it and put it into this particular project so that I could have everything done a lot faster than what it would have taken me.
Wow, that was like late circuit 2019.
Yes.
It was an incredible product, like demo of just how we could scale up. Because one of the things that getting to be an on-premises installation software is scale becomes a very manual process, and this helps leverage the technologies that already exist out there to be able to scale to any extent without all of that additional labor. Because again, labor cost. Now, do you ever have any issues with being able to deploy and then not get it to work in the next environment? Like, what are the factors that you look for to make sure for consistent deployment from environment to environment with the Terraform?
Usually with it relies on a specific file, configuration file. They have an extension of TF, so for Terraform. And if by chance the site name, which is a reference in all of my files and stuff, so we have site names, they're called this, and if that's not there in the main configuration, then I have to go back to the person that takes care of all that stuff and say, okay, can you add this for me? Can you make sure DNS is set up right, which we talked about earlier? Everything's always DNS, right? And because we have two domains now, I have a separate domain for Veeam and everything that I use. So I have to make sure that when Terraform runs, it joins it to the correct domain.
Gotcha. So this is a really cool project, but I'm kind of curious, what are some of the other things that you have automated in your environment with Terraform? Because we're always talking about the art of the possible, but until we start getting examples, sometimes the gears just don't quite turn to expand and really develop in these different areas.
Yeah, with this project, it was more around all of the Linux VMs that we were doing. And I can actually use this now, which I have used a couple times, to replace our Windows proxy servers for like VBR, for VCC, and all those environments, and use Terraform and deploy some new Ubuntu machines, and then configure those, remove the Windows boxes, and we're up and running now with a lot of newer systems.
So if someone wanted to today be able to deploy this in their environment, what kind of lead time would they be looking at, considering all of this groundwork you have to lay, being familiar with the application, and which administrator should you be pulling into this Tiger team in order to get this project off the ground, and real expectations towards management?
Well, I'll preface this with I'm not a DevOps expert. Everything was already set up in order for me to leverage Terraform. I know it did take, for that aspect of the automation piece, it took a couple of months to get going, because the person had to work to set up the GitHub, set up Ansible, get Terraform running, and stuff like that. It just depends on the skill set of the people that you're leveraging. For me, doing the Terraform piece, because I understood the code from the previous stuff that I've worked with, it didn't take me long to get through and reconfigure the files that I needed to use for this. But for me, it took maybe, I think I tested for about 2 to 4 weeks with this stuff, just to get everything right, get it working, so that if I did move environments, there was very little I had to change and stuff.
Gotcha. So we've talked a lot about the concept, the groundwork building, the art of the possible. I know that you have a couple slides for us to show off your pet project. Do you want to give us a quick walkthrough of what it looks like on the other side?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Now, these are very basic slides. I don't have the configuration file itself in there. I'm going to, just so everybody's aware on the call, I'm going to set up sanitized file, which I will upload to the community. So if anybody wants to take a look at it, see how it's set up, see how it works. If you have Terraform and you can modify it to your specs and everything, then you can do it. So, so basically, this is where the Terraform configuration files are stored. They're in GitHub, which is like a repository. Hopefully, everybody that's familiar with DevOps and coding and documents and stuff has used GitHub before. But as you can see here, there's two files. There's one called main.tf, which has most of the configuration stuff in it to do with the site. And then the VB365 TF one is the configuration file for what I use to do the deployment. In here, there's sections, and each section lists out what you want to accomplish. So I have a section in there for the proxy servers. I have a section in there for the Postgres server that I need for VB365. And I have a section in there for the NAT servers. So it will go through, read that file, and it says, okay, this is what I got to build. This is what I got to deploy. It will label the VMs for you. It will IP the VMs for you. It has an increment counter, so I can increment the IPs based on the name to try and correlate them together and things like that. So once you get everything going, I'm kind of skipping a little bit ahead here. But like I said, this part here, what Terraform does is it builds what's called a pipeline. So you check in your files, it validates them all, it tests them, and then what it will do is go through the build phase. So once the build phase is done, you'll get a green check mark like you see on my screen here. So this was done for this particular project. And then what I can do is I can actually click on this build. It will take me into a separate window. It will show me that it built everything and make sure everything comes up and says, okay, it's completed, it's ready to go. At that point, we don't have auto deploy turned on. So what I need to do is I need to click on a drop-down box on the screen, and I have to click on run, and it manually runs the actual deployment. So then at that point, I'll go to the next slide. This is the deployment screen. So it's basically a bunch of line of codes and things like that. So as it goes through, reads that TF file, does what it's supposed to do, it brings up and says, okay, it's deploying this VM, it's deploying this VM, it's deploying this VM. And it actually will wait until it finishes the full deployment of the VM. And then at that point, it will give you this here where it says, okay, the job has succeeded. So at this point, I know, okay, my deployment went well. I can see all my VMs that were deployed and everything like that. Typically, I will have one screen up on my monitor watching the Terraform deployment process going, and then on the other screen, I have the virtual center, so I can actually see the VMs being created and as they're being powered on coming up. So that's basically the overview of that stuff. That's the end of my slides. It wasn't anything spectacular, but at least you can see kind of gauge how it works, the overall process, and things like that.
You've shown us that it actually exists, and I'm excited to see it come up on the community hub in the sanitized form. Definitely follow back up on the site to see that, and of course get your head start. Now, we've covered a lot of where we started, where we're going, but we actually have some questions from William out there. And he was asking about integrations with cloud. I know that you have to integrate with the Microsoft 365 platform for the backup software.
Yep.
How did you guys tackle the integration? Does it automatically deploy like the users and the backups like that, or is this just for the infrastructure side?
No, this particular project was just for the infrastructure side. I'm finding that that's the biggest challenge, is getting everything deployed, everything configured, and up and running to be able to get the organizations, the backup jobs, and things like that. Now, we do have a custom-made portal that we've built in-house that actually integrates into VB365. So it's through there that customers will register, log in, add their organization. It will create their storage for them automatically. They can set up all their jobs and everything like that. So that automation piece is kind of outside of this.
So let's start to wrap up here. And I actually have 2 questions for you to clean up. The first one is, what was the biggest pain point in this entire project, and how did you overcome that?
I think just the size of the project was the biggest thing, because we had discussions with our sales team at Veeam. I discussed with one of the architects, one of the engineers, and I was going through, okay, what do I need to get this environment going? Because it's going to eventually have like over 150,000 users in it. And they're like, oh, well, that size of environment, you need, I would start with 60 to 65 proxies. So I'm kind of like, oh my God, what am I going to do here? That's going to take me forever to deploy manually. So I thought, okay, I need a way to do this quickly and everything. So I'm using Terraform. I also have a shell script that I developed and did for installing the actual .NET stuff on the proxy servers, to install Postgres on the Postgres server, and to install NATs on the NAT server. So I needed a way to get everything together. And okay, here, this project is due at the end of the month. All right, okay, I've got 4 weeks. Okay, let's get this done so we can get it tested and working with our portal.
Awesome. So the last question is, so that we're not ending on a negative, what was the best part of this project? Like your favorite part of it? What went well for you?
I think just overall learning more about Terraform is an awesome positive, because I can translate this over to our production environment from the government side. But it didn't take as long as I thought it was going to take once I got it going. So it was, okay, I'm estimating 2 weeks just to give myself some buffer and everything like that. But it was just like, oh, okay. I had it done in like just under a week and everything. And I sent the message to the team and said, okay, everything's ready to go for this. You guys do your part. And they're like, oh, wow, okay. Now we got to do our work and get everything configured and connected to the VB365 environment.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for answering.
No, sorry, Corinne. I just wanted to say how much I actually enjoyed this conversation and the topic, and I really hope that our audience enjoyed this topic as well. Let us know in the comments, and just let us know if you have any questions related to this project. And Chris, where could our audience find you? Where would be the right place to find you if they want to ask more questions?
You can find me. I'm on the community every day, even when I'm on vacation and stuff like that. So you can ask me questions. Yeah, you can ask me questions there. If you find me on the community and you go into my profile, I also have a blog site where I publish a lot of stuff. And you can contact me through there as well.
Yes, LinkedIn
as well, Twitter. All the socials.
Yeah. And actually, before we go, I also have questions, and I hope this is on behalf of our audience here. What was your experience with Terraform? When you started, what would be an advice that you'd give someone that actually wants to start learning Terraform?
Well, get hands-on. I'm a hands-on person, so I like to just get into the files, look at them, see how they're set up, play with them. I'm lucky enough through another program, the vExpert program through Broadcom, to have a Pluralsight membership. and everything. So I've gone on to Pluralsight and gone through like just even beginner courses that explain how Terraform works, how it's set up, and all those kinds of things. I have a book here that I ordered that I've been reading as well, Mastering Terraform from Pact Publishing. But just just start using it and play with it. If it breaks, it breaks. Then you learn how to fix it and do all those kinds of things.
I guess not in the production environment, right?
But not in the production environment, no.
Yeah. Don't play with it.
Production's not dev.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, great stuff. Thank you for the advice. Yeah, great stuff in here. But before we actually wrap up, I'm going to wrap up, I promise. Chris, I have one more question for you. I always ask this on all our Veeam 100 shows that I am a moderator. I get this question very often from, different community members that are not part of the Veeam 100, that are not VUG leaders, are not that familiar, with what is Veeam 100, but they hear it everywhere and they are like, oh, is this great program from Veeam? How do I get to be a Veeam 100 member? How do I get to be part of this Veeam 100? And what would be one advice that you'd give to people that, community members that want to be part of the Veeam 100 program?
Well, probably the first step is just sign up and join the Veeam community. Get involved, ask questions, just post in there. If you've written blogs, link to your blogs, those kinds of things. It's getting involved, putting yourself out there, and all of those kinds of things.
Yeah, I agree with that. Be part of the Veeam community hub, because all the good stuff are happening there, and you can find out more about the program, about what you should do in there, and there are our legends and our vanguard and VUG leaders that can, help with answers and also support you in maybe becoming one. So I agree with that. And just get involved, right? Just get involved in the conversation. Totally agree. But yeah, just wanted to say thank you both, Corinne and Chris, because we are getting very close to ending this show. It was great having both of you here. Just wanted to know if you have any final thoughts, Corinne.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working with the Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365 products since its V1 days, and having any type of automation behind that deployment is really a game changer for even just small mom and pop shops, because there are configurations and settings that you may not even think about, and having a script from someone that's already tested it, especially from a service provider level, gives you peace of mind that, hey, the security is locked down, it's got the right settings, and it's even built for the enterprise, so it's going to work for you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Corinne. And Chris, any final thoughts for you?
If you can automate. It will save you lots of time and effort and things like that. And it's a fun learning experience as well.
Short and sweet, I agree. But yeah, thank you once again for being part of this show. And thank you everyone for tuning in today. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And don't forget, we'll see you in August with a special episode of Veeam 100 Show. This is going to be dedicated to Hackathon 2024. We are going to meet the winning team, and they are going to talk all about the project they developed during the competition. And I'm sure you don't want to miss on that. So thank you all. Have a wonderful day.